Hi guys, my name's Pat Garvey. Welcome to issue 2 of iDrum magazine. As mentioned last month, we're going to continue on with our look at groove-based ideas here. This month we're going to look at groove enhancement. That is how to enhance a groove. Okay, we're going to break this particular groove down again, very similar in a very similar fashion to how we did last month. This groove is nothing remotely near what we did last month. Okay, it's an entirely different thing. This came from, I was asked by a student how you recreate a part for the drums that has obviously been sampled without, if you're not playing to backing tracks or anything else. And it led us to looking at some ideas, and those are that's what I'm going to share with you now. So we're going to take the groove, break it all down, look at some different concepts that you can apply to it as well. Okay, and then if we get time, we'll look at maybe applying the same kind of ideas to a completely different style or genre or groove. So with any luck, that's where we'll end up. What we're going to start with, okay, is the hi-hat. Okay, now the hi-hat part for this groove, okay, is just an offbeat eighth note hi-hat groove. Okay, that's the groove that you're going to play with the hi-hat. Okay, now before we go on to that, I just want to talk about this, because there are ways of playing the hi-hat and there are ways of definitely not playing the hi-hat. Okay, with your foot, that is. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to look at that quickly. Okay, so you can see from my foot, okay, that I'm on the pedal, and I'm going to play the part. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now what you don't see my foot doing is this. Okay, coming off the pedal. There's a reason for that. The first of which is it changes the sound and it sounds horrible. The second of which is you lose control over what you're doing, okay, because you're making however much that is. Let's say about that much more movement than you need to make, okay? And the third of which is it just looks a bit silly, frankly, okay? So my toes are against the chain, right? If you've got a belt, that doesn't matter, put your toes against the belt, that's fine, okay? And I'm playing it from there. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I'm playing on the and of each beat. It's a solid sound, it's the same sound each time, because remember, we're recreating something here and we want everything to sound the same. Okay, we don't want every hi-hat beat to sound different. We don't want this. We don't want that happening at all. Okay, so again, this is something to practice slowly. If you are not used to this kind of thing, then there's going to be independence issues anyway. Okay, and that's fine. Again, like I said last month, you need to just slow everything down, take it easy on yourself, and do the right type of practice. Okay, not the wrong type of practice. And again, if you get it wrong, stop and start again. Okay. So again, just to demonstrate it, I'll demonstrate it a bit slower. Okay, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so my foot's very relaxed. Okay, the ankle's very relaxed. You're approaching your ankles in pretty much the same way that you approach your wrist. Okay, it's how your body moves, right? I mean, your ankle's designed to do that. It does it when you walk, it does it when you run, so you may as well do it when you drum, right? Again, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so not this. None of that stuff, okay? So that's our hi-hat part, all right? This particular groove, like the last one wouldn't, but this one will test your independence a little bit, okay? So you're going to need a good understanding of some fairly fundamental independence exercises and concepts as well. For anything you have trouble with, there's always something to practice, okay? Now, back to this groove. Hi-hat part, okay? So we're on the offbeat, so we're on the ands, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, the reason I'm going through this is so that we get it right and so that you can get it right from the ground upwards. Now, I'm going to play the bass drum part, okay? Here's the bass drum part. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if we just take a second and look at this bass drum part, okay? Because on its own it might just sound like it's in no man's land. Let's put it against eighth notes on the hi-hat, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4. If we put into that a backbeat, we wind up with a groove that you've heard all over all kinds of records and all kinds of people playing, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. If you take that bass drum part and you look at it as 16th notes, okay? Starting on the beat 1 of the bar, okay? You've got 1 E and A, okay? Well, the bass drum, you're playing 1 A, okay? So you're playing 1 A, 3, 4, 1 A, 3, 4, okay? So you've got 3 bass drum notes on the 1, on the A of 1, and on the 3, okay? 4. 4. Now, putting those two things together, okay, is again, like last month, an entirely different prospect to just discussing them kind of openly, all right? Here are those two things together. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, I'm applying the same concepts to my right foot here, okay, with the bass drum. It's solid, it's making the same sound each time. We don't want different bass drum sounds with this type of groove because you're going to wind up with something that's all over the shop. So what we've got, I'm burying the beater in the head. I don't want the bass drum, I don't want an open sound, okay? I've got a pillow in there so it's not that open, but I don't want to bring the beater back off the head. I'm burying it in the head. Those two things together again. Okay, so every hi-hat note sounds the same as the last. Every bass drum beat that I'm playing sounds the same as the last. Okay, so it all comes together and your ears are not dancing all over the place. As a listener, this is, you know, trying to pick out what's going on. Everything's there for you, okay? This forms the basis of the groove that we're going to put together and the concept we're going to apply to it, okay? Now, with the right hand, on the ride cymbal, we're going to play, again, a basic rhythm, okay? This is the rhythm, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, this is a 1 bar rhythm, this, okay? It works over the course of 1 bar. So, slowly, here's this rhythm, okay? On your examples, okay, in the notation, you've got all of these exercises written out as last time, okay? They're written out individually before we then put them together, and that's so that you can see them, so that you can learn the count okay, so that you know exactly what you're playing, when, why, and how you're doing it. When you put those two things, these three things together, okay, we wind up with that rhythm, okay? What we're now going to do is, on the example where you see the right hand rhythm, okay, you'll see there are accents applied to it, okay? Now, we spoke about accents last month. We're going to look at them a little bit more in depth this month, because we can, okay, because it's a bit more of it's a bit more simple in concept compared to last month. So, again, on the ride, we're going to take those accents and we're going to play them on the bell, with the shoulder of the stick. Everything else is being played on the body of the ride with the tip of the stick, okay, which gives us this: 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, if we apply those accents to the feet, we get something that sounds different again. Now, we're just banging through this because I want to get to where we're going to get to with this, which is applying some concepts to this to make it sound completely different. So we're going to be playing exactly the same thing, okay, but making it sound different. We're going to look at what the left hand is doing now, okay? So the left hand, for the purpose of this, I've got the snares off, okay? The reason for which will become clear shortly, but it's basically for sound, okay? Now, the left hand, okay, if you look at the notation, okay, it should be number 5, you will see it's written out for the cross stick. Now, the cross stick, I've turned my stick, okay, the other way around, so I'm now playing it up towards the butt end of the stick, okay, on the rim. It gets a different sound, okay. My left hand is not leaving the skin. And just to show you specifically, the part that's not leaving the skin is this, okay? So I'm not playing like that. There, it's controlling the sound. It's making sure that we get the same sound each time. You're not wasting any movement, okay? If I put the left hand rhythm with this rhythm, okay? Now, the rhythm that the left hand is playing, if you look at it, okay, you're playing on the 2E, okay, and you're playing on the 3A, right? Practice that slowly so that you know exactly what you're doing, right? Because now we're going to take this and we're going to add a bit of spice to it, okay? So we're going to swing it. At the moment we're playing it straight. Okay, everything's straight. We're going to apply a bit of swing to it, okay? So we're going to add a little bit of life to it, all right? And we're doing that across the board. So this is a real feel thing, okay? You can write this out and everything else, but ultimately it's got to be felt right. Here's the groove straight. Okay, and here's the groove swung. 1, 2, 3, 4. step one in achieving a completely different feel from basically playing the same notes, okay? With the accents now, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, here's where we're going to change things, okay? So we're going to enhance this. We're going to look at playing this right hand rhythm on the snare drum, okay? But we're going to employ basically strokes, okay? So here's that same rhythm that I was playing on the ride, okay? But I'm now going to apply it to the rim of the snare drum, okay? So, and this is without accents, okay? So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. A totally different sound. Now, if I apply those accents, okay, to this groove, that means I'm going to be playing my accented notes on the rim, okay, again, with the shoulder of my stick. Except for now, I'm going to be playing the non-accented notes on the snare drum, okay, on the snare drum head. And remember, we've got the snare off, okay, and this is why we've got the snare off. Now, this is, as a concept, is quite simple. If you come down, okay, down, if you come down, you've got to come back up, okay? And these are 2 strokes, a down, up. It's exactly the same thing you're applying if you're playing accents on the bell of the ride in just the basic rock groove. You're playing down and you're coming up, down and you're coming up, okay? Down is how your body works, down, up. So if you apply that here, you've got this. The idea behind this, as far as we're concerned here, is that you're not having to physically play 2 strokes. You're playing 1 stroke and the other one you're getting by virtue of the fact that you're coming up and you're relaxed, okay? So you're not having to go or anything like that. It works the same here. Okay, there are a few different ways of doing it, but in a nutshell, those are the things you should look out for. Again, if that stuff is new to you, find yourself a good teacher, okay? Find yourself someone with experience that knows what they're talking about, okay, and is credible, all right? And look into these things. There's a lot of material on these ideas, okay? Concepts and techniques, right? Back to the groove. So, we left it that I'd played it on the rim of the snare drum, okay? So now we've got 2 sounds from our snare drum. We've got that and that, right? 2 very different sounds. If I apply that, okay, with my right hand now, we're going to get something entirely different, right? Here we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We're now getting 3 sounds, 4 sounds even, from our snare drum, okay? We're getting hitting the rim, we're getting the cross stick, okay? We're getting the muted sound of the skin, okay? And our 4th sound we're getting with our open sound of the drum, but still a bit muted because my palm's still on it, okay? So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. When you put that together, you're still bearing in mind that you're trying to make everything sound exactly the same, because we're talking about recreating loops here, okay, and concepts and ways in which you can do that. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4. okay? Everything needs to sound the same. Now then, if we speed that up, you start to get a bit nearer the point of this type of stuff, okay? And you can take this approach to anything, okay? So I could take my right hand here, and instead of playing it on the snare drum, I could play it on my first tom here. And again, we get a different sound and completely different, a completely different sounding rhythm, okay? Although physically you're playing the same thing. Here's what this sounds like. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so very different things. I'll play it over a few things so that you get the idea of how it can work. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I'm not playing anything different now. I'm still playing the same notes in exactly the same place. It's just how I voice them, okay, and the techniques that I apply to them. This is not something that is unique or exclusive to that type of playing. You can apply these kind of concepts to anything you like, okay? If, just as an example, and just to go to kind of a different end of the spectrum, if we apply the same concept, okay, to a Mozambique rhythm, okay, with the right hand. So with my right hand, I'm going to be playing the Mozambique rhythm, okay. With my feet, I'm going to be playing the samba foot pattern. With my left hand, just so you know, I'm going to be playing a variation of on a 3/2 rumba clave, okay, but the variation is on the 2 side. Now, I'm going to add the accents to the Mozambique rhythm, okay, and then I'm going to do exactly the same thing we just did with that rhythm. We were just working on the kind of sampled rhythm, and that is, I'm going to take my right hand to the snare drum, okay, and do exactly the same thing in context there. I might chuck in a couple of flams, rudiment, okay, again, just another rudiment, but you'll get the gist. It really does spice things up quite nicely. So here we go with this pattern, okay? Okay, so again, just taking that rhythm, you're not playing anything different, it's just how I was voicing it and the techniques that you're applying to various accents and moving things around. Now, what I'm now going to do is I'm going to play along to a bit of music, okay, specifically for that part, not the Mozambique part, the Mozambique thing, the first rhythm we were working on today, okay? So you can hear it in a musical context, and this is something that's also available for you to download, okay? That you can play along to and build up to and practice to, okay? Here we go. Listen guys, I hope you've enjoyed this lesson. Again, take your time with these concepts and these techniques. Really look into them, and remember it's the right type of practice we're talking about here. Okay, again, I hope you got something out of it, and I'll see you next month.